Zachary Taylor, let's get his magnification going, was an American military officer. He was the 12th president of the U.S., serving from 49 until 50, till his death in 1850. Zachary Taylor was a career officer in the United States Army, rising to the rank of Major General and becoming a national hero for his victories in the Mexican-American War. As a result, he won election to the White House despite his vague political beliefs. Vague. His top priority as president was to preserve the Union. He died 16 months into his term. Jeez, 16 months from a stomach disease. Taylor had the third shortest presidency. So I remember there was one that died 3 weeks in. This is number 3. So was it 16? It's like a year and 4 months, year and change. Taylor was born into a prominent family of plantation owners, Virginia. Not the Virginia dynasty, but plantation owners in Louisville, Kentucky. He was the last president to be born before the adoption of the Constitution. Interesting. He was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Army in 1808. He made a name for himself as a captain in the War of 1812, which was again that war that the U.S. and its allies fought against the U.K. and its allies. He climbed the ranks of the military establishment and establishing military forts along the Mississippi and entering the Black Hawk as a colonel. His succession in the Second Seminole War attracted national attention and earned him the nickname Old Rough and Ready. In 45, during the annexation of Texas, Polk dispatched Taylor to the Rio Grande in anticipation of a battle with Mexico over the disputed Texas-Mexico border. The Mexican-American War broke out in 46, and Taylor defeated Mexican troops commanded by Mariano Arista at the Battle of Palo Alto and Resaca de la Palma. Those are 2 different battles. Driving Arista's troop out of Texas. How do you guys like my Spanish accent, by the way? Taylor then led his troops into Mexico, where they defeated Mexican troops by Pedro de Ampudia at the Battle of Monterrey. Defying orders, Taylor led his troops further south, and despite being severely outnumbered, dealt a crushing blow to Mexican forces under General Antonio López de Santa Anna at the Battle of Buena Vista. So this guy, if you guys ever grew up, or not grew up necessarily, but have you seen like Zorro? There's a movie with Zorro with Anthony Hopkins and Antonio Banderas, and he plays, I think it's Santa Anna in that movie, but I could be mistaken. Taylor's troops were transferred to the command by Major General Winfield Scott, but Taylor retained his popularity, and then we got this. The Whig Party convinced a reluctant Taylor. Right here, the Whig Party convinced a reluctant Taylor to lead its ticket in 48 election. Despite his unclear political tenets and lack of interest in politics, at 48 Whig National Convention, Taylor defeated Scott, former Senator Clay, for the party's nomination. This Clay guy just never becomes POTUS. Seems like he always wants to, but never does. He won the general election alongside New York politician Millard Fillmore, which I have heard of. I think that guy was a president. Yeah. Defeating the Democratic nominees Cass and Butler, as well as a third effort led by former President Buren, who just keeps trying. He was the guy who spoke English as a second language. He was the 8th president, and he stayed in politics Martin Van Buren. And Charles Francis Adams Sr. Excuse me, folks. Oh, sorry about that. I felt that one coming for a while. So, Martin Van Buren and Charles Francis Adams Sr. of the Free Soil Party, which, what in the heck is that? Taylor became the first president to be elected without having any... Ah, interesting. I think that's what they said about Trump, that he never had political office. So Taylor's the first. So this guy, Taylor. Zachary Taylor. Interesting. That is like a slander that's pushed him on President Trump, that he never held previous office. But it seems, according to this Wikipedia, which is locked, and it's a good article, so you can probably, yeah, maybe. So anyways, whatever, let's keep going. As president, he kept his distance from Congress and his cabinet, even though partisan tensions threatened to divide the Union. Debate over the status of slavery in the Mexican Cession dominated the national political agenda, and led to threats of secession from Southerners. Despite being a Southerner and a slaveholder, Taylor did not push for the expansion of slavery and sought sectional harmony above all other concerns. To avoid the issue of slavery, urged settlers in New Mexico and California to bypass the territorial stage and draft constitutions for statehood, settling the stage for the Compromise of 1850. Taylor died suddenly in 1850, with his administration having accomplished little aside from the ratification of the Clayton-Bulwer Treaty, and having made no progress on the most decisive issue in Congress in the nation, slavery. Vice President Filmer assumed the presidency and served the remainder of his term. Bottom quartile of president, so he wasn't such a I guess, I don't know what the word is, like influential president. Child at home. It's during the wars that he fought. His rank. That's probably Fillmore. Yeah, Millard. What a name, huh? Millard. Alright. So this is Zachary Taylor. Let's look at the pic. Looks like a hard guy. Alright, thanks for watching.